Good morning, everyone. So today we've got a little bit change of pace going on for our video. Instead of it being Z related content for right now, it's still Z related content, but we're about to go do a timing belt on a Z31 300ZX. If you didn't know, these are Z32. You probably know, but it's the body style before this. Before we go do that, since we decided we're parting out the black Z, went ahead and I grabbed our steering belt so we can throw it back on here so we can drive this thing. Possibly readjust a little bit of the clutch pedal just to give it a little less play, and then we're going to go over to the next town and start this job. Now I got our power steering belt on, fingers crossed that it doesn't squeak. Same for the alternator belt when we get it started. I think our next step is going to be to gather all our tools. I usually take my own tools, just if I need to take, you know, a hammer to this ratchet to break something loose, I'm gonna do it to my stuff instead of someone else's. Let's load up, get the car warmed up, maybe take the dogs out, and head and get to work. Belt squeal's going. Nice and quiet. That's what I like to hear. Officially made it over here, and this is going to be our project for the day. So what we're doing on this, speaking of, these G35 wheels look pretty sick on this. What we're going to do is a timing belt kit, water pump, I believe. Yep, water pump, coolant temp sensor, I believe so, thermostat, and this should be all the timing kit. We're going to go ahead and start on this. Not 100% sure what to do. However, it's not going to be that hard. Watched a couple videos and it's fairly straightforward. This hose is going to be the under one for down there, and this will be our hose right here. These cars, I guess, have a factory V mount. Never would have guessed. This whole thing here is the fan shroud. Like, what? First things first, we're going to pull the shroud, radiator, get access to the front of the motor, start draining our coolant now. If you ever thought a Z32 is a knuckle buster, wow. This thing has even less room, I feel like. Not overall in the grand scheme of things, but however, for a lot of this stuff, this is all just from taking some fan clutch off. Now we're in here, we've got probably about 2 quarts of coolant drained out. We're going to take this tensioner off here. You adjust it right up here on this bolt, and we'll remove the AC belt. We'll also hit the tensioner over here on the power steering pump, and we will loosen that so we can pull both these belts off and get down to the water pump. All belts are off. I have taken the coolant out. Got to figure out, I need to transfer it to another jug so we can use this because it's shorter, a lower profile. Next, I believe it's going to be letting the car down. Once down, we're going to try to take this crank pulley off, and then after we can remove that, we'll continue to drain the radiator, and it'll remove this coolant piping. You can see there, we got a crank pulley loose using our trusty old steering wheel puller. I'm not sure where I put the box. Oh, it's over there. Harbor Freight Special does this perfect every time. Now that our crank pulley's off and we're back to draining coolant, we're going to go ahead and try pulling these timing covers off so we can get access to the timing belt, and hopefully by the time we're there, coolant will be drained out enough where we can remove this radiator pipe and the water pump and get to the lower timing cover. Well, we're free. We just need to get this coolant pipe off and we can pull it off. Ta-da! Timing kit is now accessible. All of our old parts chilling. It's time for us to actually get to work. So first things first, we're going to set the car to top dead center. Make sure all of our marks on our cam gears line up here with these dimples on the top, and same with the crank sprocket down below. So kind of like the Z32 belt, the way that you can check these belts is to count the cogs or teeth in between the lines. Should be 3 lines. There's 2, there's 3. From this point to this point, 40. From this point to down there, 42. As long as those are right, you're good to go. Make sure you count it before you put the belt on, so that way you can actually go by the marks on the belt if it is correct. They have been wrong before, so you always want to double check. Pretty much what we're on to now is we're letting all the remnants of this strip out, so that way now we're cleaning this thermostat housing so we can reseal that back on with our new thermostat. We also found that coolant tip sensor, I believe, is right here behind the timing cover, so we will have to pull these cam gear sprockets. So it means we will have to go back home to grab some seal pullers. No big deal. May have to do that while stuff's curing anyways. Well, we just ran home so that way we could grab these couple tools. We need the seal puller, this pick so I can poke a hole in it to pull it out, and this for our coolant sensor. I think it's 19mm socket. So hours up, all of our RTVs cured. Now it's time to go back and torque it all. Since they're all 12mm bolts, I think it means, I don't really know this thread size, pitch, none of that. However, I know these size bolts on a Z32 are usually 12 to 15 foot-pounds, so we're going to torque them to 12 foot-pounds. Call it a day. These are 2 new cam seals. I know that because these 2 got the same part numbers and this one's different. We've just got our gears off. We're going to change them, put them back on. Start our journey putting this back together. Both cam gears are tightened and torqued. We've got our tensioner tightened, set. Got good deflection. I think it's about time to put it back together. Yeah, the tensioner tightened to spec, and then we'll slap it all back together. Very straightforward from there. All the hard stuff's done, or the sketchy stuff, so sweet. Got the hose thermostat pipe back on. Got our belts on. These 2 are tension power steering belts. We're going to take this coolant reservoir out so we can get better access to it. It's proving to be a pain in the butt. Other than that, all we have is to put our fan on, our shroud, and get this pipe back on. Well, I'm sorry if I didn't document the end of that well enough. Pretty much we got it back together and didn't have the best of luck. More or less what was going on to begin with the car is it'll start for 5-6 seconds, run, rev, and then just die. Like, dies right out. So maybe something to do with the idle air control valve, fast idle control, not sure, but I got to do a little bit of research on Z31s, so hopefully we can get this sorted out. I'm going to take my timing light, fuel pressure gauge, and a couple other things so we can kind of figure out what's going on. Vacuum hoses, boost leak tester, just so we can test for air leaks, whole 9 yards, just to see if we can kind of sort this thing out. We're about to go out and do our typical Thursday stuff, go grab some B-dubs, but other than that, tomorrow, fortunately we're still not getting to work on the Z. We probably won't get to do that till this weekend, but tomorrow we get to go to, I think, Rossville, Indiana, and we're actually going to do fuel injectors for one of you guys. One of you guys reached out to me that asked me if it was something I could do since we live in the same state. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do a new style fuel injector conversion, cool line delete. The ones that run under the plenum, we're gonna simplify it up for him and hopefully get his car running better. Thing's got, I think, sub 60,000 miles, and he's had it over 10 years, so it's definitely going to be his baby. But needless to say, I'm super stoked, and thank you again, Chris, for giving me this opportunity. Good morning, you guys. So today we're starting bright and early. We've got our other clutch pedal over here that's not worn out on the rod. This one, it has way too much play. I don't like the way it feels. Sometimes the pedal will get stuck like an inch in, even though it's all the free play. It just doesn't feel right to me, and I don't feel comfortable driving it, so we're going to change this out before we go drive an hour away to change these fuel injectors. Got our old pedal out. Let's throw the new one in. It has a good bushing, correct size hole. Mine, I don't think they all came the same. Sorry, my hair is pretty crazy. From what I could see on the couple clutch pedals I do have, one is machined or drilled exactly to this size, and the other ones are big enough to fit that bushing that I mentioned earlier in the video, or maybe that was last video. Can't remember, either or. But that bushing, I believe it may be a revision. New clutch, and this is all the travel we got now. It's not. It was double that. We've been driving probably 45 minutes now. We're headed over to Rossville, Indiana, to this shop. I'm ready to get to work. We've got a couple little things over here. Grab a telescoping magnet. This one actually has a swivel head. That's primarily for the injector connector clips. I grabbed 3 foot of hose and brought my hose clamps for the coolant line bypass. And some gloves. Since this is a pretty nice car, I'm going to take extra steps or precautions to make sure it stays nice and clean, etc. Here's another 30 minutes. So here we are with Chris's car. This is probably the nicest Aztec red that I've ever seen. This thing actually has full straight pinch welds all the way around the car, and that is incredible. But we are here and we are starting to do his injectors. House adapter kits, OS injectors, because they are kind of the best for the NA application. Oh wow, and bang for the buck. Sorry if the lights are a little odd. I even was acknowledged or told that they would do something like that, so it's no big deal. We're going to start. I've already got the intake, PCV, ICV off, TPS unplugged, harnesses back here, next coil packs, balance tube. This here is single-handedly why I bought a new one of these, because I knew something like this will inevitably happen. So now, next step, we're going to take our 8 plenum bolts off, and this thing should come off other than the 4 coolant lines we have on the back. Don't have to worry about those, we're deleting them anyways. So we got the plenum off. About to shop this coolant line, and this coolant line right there. What we're gonna do, we're gonna loop them back to each other to bypass going all the way up through the throttle body and back, performing coolant bypass delete. Cool. Now that we have the cup in, take your fresh lubed injector, push and twist. You see how even it is? It should almost be flush. When you tighten the rest of that down, it will push. That's just the O-ring and its a little bit of area that it has to slide. There we go, we've got all our injectors in. Now it's time to install them back in the car, put our new rail seals on the bottom, and get these adapter harnesses plugged in, put the plenum back on. Before we do the plenum, I have just realized we need to go through, chop all these coolant lines off. Coolant bypass is finished. However, we're going to leave these hard lines on since they feed up to the balance tube and the carbon canister comes here. Passenger side is nearly complete with the exception of this cruise control line. All of our vacuum lines are done, minus this. Let's do the same to the driver's side.
That's funny.
Where's it at? Now we're all back together, officially down to the moment we've been waiting for. Will it start? Yeah. Judging by the last clip, you may think that it's not running too well. Well, I think what happened is when we had these two bad injectors, I did the stethoscope test to this and this injector. Neither one of these clicked when I had the screwdriver to my ear. Leads me to believe they were bad. It was ran and flooded a few times like that, so what I'm kind of thinking it may be is the plugs may have got fouled out trying to ignite, and now it won't ignite the fuel of the new fuel injectors. Good morning, you guys. So pretty much I want to clear up what was going on yesterday. I was kind of a little too caught up in the moment. I was really expecting everything to go better once we got them fuel injectors changed, because when we did the stethoscope test, the cylinder 1 and 2 injectors were not firing on either cylinder. So with that being said, I'm thinking maybe from all the time that those, possibly the injectors were just stuck open spraying fuel constantly. That's kind of what I think. So with that being said, I think for however long it was running, all the times it was tried to start, and like the issue he has, he'd start, if he didn't keep the foot on the gas, or his foot on the gas when the car would start, it would die, and then it wouldn't start again like it's flooding out. So what I think is going on, the injector's stuck open, constantly pulsing, and it's not flowing the right amount of fuel. So I think it may have fouled the plugs out from filling with too much fuel, and maybe neither of those cylinders are igniting now. At least they're not igniting efficiently. So this car is going to Slamology like next month, which is a pretty big deal. And part of me, just from my personal experience, almost is just expecting the worst. That's just what I do in all of my situations, so that way I'm prepared for the worst. But like if I get good news, then it's pretty sick. So at the worst, if that fuel sitting in them first two cylinders may have washed the rings out and maybe lost compression, that's a possibility. When he was showing me a video of it cranking over, I'm sorry Chris if you see this before we talk, this is just, I didn't want to say nothing in the time being because obviously I don't want to make anything happen, but regardless, if something happens, I've got motors. We're going to get you to Slamology. We're going to get you out there. So, but we're going to go back, we're going to take a compression tester, we're going to take fuel pressure tester, we're going to take a timing light, we're going to take new spark plugs so we can switch them out and check, especially if the cylinder does have compression. There's no way that them injectors are bad. The first start that you guys seen was kind of rough. However, once it caught up, and like the car now, it starts every time he turns the key, it'll start, and it's kind of holding an idle. So I think that we do have like an ignition issue that we need to sort out. But enough of that. We're gonna get him taken care of regardless. And also on top of that, one of the coolest experiences ever, him and Kate super cool dudes and have a lot of insight for some things that, you know, can help me grow, not only as a person but as a YouTuber. So thanks again, guys. That being said, if you guys liked the video, don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe down below, and stay tuned for our next one. Catch you then. Peace.